And Jenny, it's good to say that there is no one size fits all approach to fighting human-elephant conflict and to making conservation work. And that is why we need to talk more, to devise more ways to bring
Exactly.
more partners on board. Because who knows, 10 years from now, maybe the elephants will be used to the sound of the drones. Where will we go next, you know? So we have to
So
keep
true.
adopting, keep bringing in solutions, keep working with other stakeholders in the landscape, involving youth and the young people, since we are very big on conservation education as well, because they are the next generation of researchers, of conservationists, of environmentalists, and they are the next generation of landowners in the Mara.
Yeah.
What will they decide to do with all this beautiful land here? You know, so we have to loop them in, make them aware of the threats, make them aware of how they can get involved.
Welcome to the Moxie podcast. I am thrilled for all of you guys to be here. This month, we are talking about conscious collaboration, and it is one of my biggest values and heartbeats to partner with people that are like-minded and that are shared in values. And so I'm so excited to have Dibblex on the call and to just be able to talk about his journey and also talk about really cool collaborations that we've been able to do with a certain project he's working with now. But Dibblex, welcome to the community.
Thank you so much, Jenny. I'm really honored to be here, and I can't wait to have this chat with you.
I've been so excited about this. We had us reschedule a couple times, but that's the nature of moving around. And so timing is everything. And I think this is the perfect time to just be able to, again, share your story. So I want to start with you before we get into anything else about collaboration and kind of current projects. But how about you tell us a little bit about just who you are and what got you to where you are today, kind of your passions, especially in conservation and those types of conversations?
Thank you. That's a very good question. A good place to start for sure. My name is Dibblex Lesalon Soyantet. I was born and bred in Narrow County. And growing up, we travel a lot with my parents. I grew up around wildlife, and I really developed a passion for travel at a young age. Fast forward, I think I carried along that passion with me. And fortunately enough, I don't know if it's fate, I got to practice tourism management. I did that as my undergrad in university. And, you know, through this course, it opened my eyes into, you know, the travel world, conservation, wildlife, sustainability, issues that are at heart at the moment. Yeah, so I graduated in 2017. And since then, I've been fortunate enough to hold various roles in the local tourism and hospitality space up until COVID, when the travel sector was hit hard. Um, as you may know, that was a really tough period for businesses that are dependent on foreign, you know, aid, on travel, tourism. You know, international borders were shut. We didn't have visitors coming in, and it was really a tough period. Millions, including me, lost our jobs,
Yeah.
and I came back home over that period. I started reading a lot. I started listening to podcasts a lot because I love listening to podcasts. And when I was in the kitchen fixing myself something, one day I figured, why not start a podcast of my own? There's no podcast about travel in Kenya. And I'm very passionate about sustainable travel, communities, conservation. And I remember sharing this with my sister, and she said, go for it. This is a brilliant idea. Go for it. I shared it with my parents, and they supported me with the initial funding to get the very basic equipment, a phone,
Yeah.
a microphone, some headphones, you know. And I went back to Nairobi, and I remember recording the first episode of Travel Local podcast with my best friend, Felix, on the banks of River Sagana. Sagana is a known destination for adventure tourism in Kenya. And we thought, why not shoot this podcast there? So after that, I hosted a couple of series, one of them being solo women in travel. I was really inspired by women in my circle who went out of
Mhm.
their own way to travel solo, to forge their own paths and to break barriers, really. And I wanted these stories reflected. Another series that really caught my attention was Fighting Rhino Extinction. As you may know, we have been losing a lot of rhino to poaching in Kenya, and this series was timely. And I remember one episode which really me and inspired not only me but audiences out there was the story of one James Mwenda, the caretaker of the last male northern white rhino Sudan, up until
Yeah.
it died. You know, just hearing James narrating how he was there until the Sudan breathed his last. You know, these are men and women dedicated to wildlife conservation, and I wanted all these stories reflected in my platform. So fast forward to February of 2021, I rebranded the podcast from Travel Local Podcast to Boots on the Ground, to share stories of exemplary men and women on the ground who are putting in their hands in the mud and going out of their own way really to serve and ensure that our wildlife, our communities, our wild spaces survive and thrive. And this podcast has really taken my storytelling as a person to the next level, enabled me to network with like-minded people in the conservation space. And the more I do it, the more episodes I've released over time, the more these issues remain at heart. And
Mhm.
one of my passions, or rather starting out, was to see this platform change hearts and minds and inspire people to take individual action. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, deep breath. There's so much to unpack here. I'm so I was like, first of all, you interviewed James, the caretaker.
Mwenda, yeah.
Okay, everyone needs to go find Boots on the Ground, needs to find that will be in the show notes. You guys need to go subscribe to that podcast and just be a part of that community, because this is exactly why I wanted you to start this. You're the first interview of this month. I did solo podcasts for the first 2 weeks. And so you're the first interview of the month of talking about the beauty of collaboration. And collaboration to me really starts with our unique voice, right? And inviting people into that conversation. And so I want to kind of take like many steps back to just talk about tourism, because we have a wide variety of listeners here, all over the world, a lot within Kenya and East Africa, but a lot from the West as well. Some who have never gotten to even experience safari or experience what that means, conservation truly means. I think
Yeah.
it's just, if I could go back and, I mean, I would have never thought that, I would have had the opportunity to be on hundreds and hundreds of safaris now, because that's such a dream, right? Dream
Yeah.
trip for people. So I want to talk about tourism and why it's so important specifically for Kenya, because Kenya is near and dear to our heart, it being our home. So I want to talk just the nature of what happened in COVID, and then how what we hear on the news versus kind of what's kind of on the ground as well, because I want to make sure we're educating people a little bit. But um, first and foremost, I'm not even sure what my question is here, but I would have to say the beauty, and I will talk about COVID specifically when we talk about local tourism, because actually let's start there, because I had the coolest experience, Dibblex. So
Yeah. Yeah.
when COVID, for you guys to know, when COVID happened, the country shut down, tourism completely plummeted. Lots of people, millions of people lost their jobs. It was a very, I mean, obviously we know this happened globally and a lot of people were hurt in so many different ways, but it was so, I mean, it was overnight. Like, it was overnight from seeing people come in and then not even, like, crickets, right? It was the weirdest thing, not even hearing planes and people being able to like enter into the country. But
Yeah.
there was a sweet spot. So there's a sweet spot in July 2020, where they opened up the counties so we could travel locally, but they still
Yes.
had not opened international travel. So
Yes.
they didn't open international travel to August 1st. So my husband and I, we said, this is the perfect time to go see the migration. So I had never seen the wildebeest migration. I had actually never been to Masai Mara by then. I'd gone to all different parks. So because my little girl was just born, with my 2.5-month-old, my husband and I, and we got sitters for my other two kids. We went to Masai Mara, and we were literally like the only ones in the park because we went the last week of July. And it was the most, I think I can only describe it as like the most serene experience, because this like peace, because normally at that time there's a lot of people visiting because it's such a high time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it was like literally only us, like in the lodge and in the space. Parts of me was a bit sad, right? Because I'm like, oh my gosh, we're all hurting for business. And at the other times I was like, wow, like this will be a once in a lifetime experience, because we hope this never happens again. So I'm like, this is a once in a lifetime experience to just be with like to just be in the middle of it. And so I would love to hear your experience of just like the lights on, kind of what lights you up about tourism, and sharing that with people, because I think I got to share. I mean, I've gotten to experience for over a decade now of it, but I think that was like such a aha moment for me of like, this is why it matters. Like, this is why it matters that people come and see. This is why it matters for people to be educated, and just to like be in it alone. I think I saw the like just the vastness of it, of like why it matters for people to come see the beauty of Kenya, and why it matters to engage in the conversations.
Wow, you must have had a very, very great experience for sure. And as you said it correctly there were no tourists coming in, the parks were empty. You could spend the whole day in the park without seeing a single vehicle. As opposed to what is happening now and what was happening pre-COVID, where during the migration, which is the high season, in the Mara,
Like
especially because of the
hundreds.
migration, yes, you see hundreds of vehicles gathering, in one queue. And um, I like what you've mentioned there. This presented an opportunity for you and your family to be one with nature, something a lot of people missed. And I remember during this time, I was following up with Carol Veroof, another gentleman who runs Serengeti Summit Live. And they were going through the Serengeti during this period of COVID, just sharing clips on YouTube about the migration, how the herds are moving closer to the border to come to Kenya, and other wildlife as well. So a lot of people missed, and I must say that you're really lucky to experience this. I also experienced this because as the counties were opening up, we got to travel. I got to come back to Nairobi. We went to Sagana, we went to Naivasha, came to the Mara, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. Yeah. So travel for me, I think, and I believe for sure, is something that opens up our minds, our hearts to people, to experiences, to different cultures. Because when you travel, you meet various different people who have various different mindsets than you. So what I love about travel and what I love about being in this industry is the little interactions we have with guests, whether international, regional, from all over the world coming to Kenya and experiencing the beauty, having that ugali and some nyama choma with them, whether it's taking a walk and watching that beautiful sunset, whether it's going down the coast and doing a cruise, or just walking down the beach, or seeing a lion doing the kill here in the Mara. Those are the moments that we carry with us. And of course, the conversations that we have amongst each other, because what travel does is it brings us together, and it makes us realize that we are alike more than we are very different. Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
So what I love that about travel, and I love that being in this space and getting to interact with various people. Yeah. So that's, in a nutshell, that's why I chose this industry, or it chose me. I don't know. But so far, it has been an amazing ride for sure. And COVID presented very many challenges for sure. As I mentioned, I lost my job amongst thousands of others. Rangers were on half salary in our parks and reserves. We noticed an increase in bushmeat poaching as the demand for food. A lot of people are unemployed. There was no money in the pocket, so we had a lot of cases of bushmeat going up, presenting a lot of challenges for wildlife as well. And of course, staying at home indoors, not having that opportunity to go out and meet your friends. But on the other side, the silver lining of COVID, which I really liked and admired up to date, is people appreciated nature. People notice that staying in their house for 6 months or 3 months straight is not healthy. We have to keep our green spaces, our forests. For example, Karura Forest, for those who have taken a walk in Karura Forest in Nairobi, which was fought for by the late Professor Wangari Maathai. And we started appreciating these little spaces of nature, these parks that we see and we've grown up around. We started appreciating our wildlife more. And people now, post-COVID, we've noticed a lot of conscious travel. Yeah, a lot of people are very conscious of not just coming to a destination like Mara and living without impacting the community, not spending that dollar at the community, empowering that young woman who sells beads at the gate, empowering that woman who does honey. So we noticed a shift, and a lot of people are conscious right now about their footprint, carbon footprint, about the impact they leave in the destinations that they visit. And this is what the industry can do, because it's people coming together for a common cause and saying, let's conserve, let's preserve, let's do it sustainably, let's do it slowly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. And my heartbeat is for people to understand the consciousness of everything across the board, right? So conscious consumerism with conscious travel, your money has so much power to it. And when you decide to put it to a purpose and actually pay attention to where that is coming from, I mean, the impact is endless. And I always define impact because I think in our field, we want to say impact is good, but impact truly is impact. So it can be bad or good. That's the nature of the definition of impact. And you have the choice of making that good impact and being conscious with where you're spending, with where you're traveling, with how you're interacting. And I love the people that come, right, and they travel to be learners, right, to experience. Because when you come in to experience and learn, like, we can grow so much from being conscious about culture and conversations and whatnot. And so that is what leads us to collaboration and conscious collaboration and partnership and the sustainability of that. And so let's talk about a little bit about Mara Elephant Project, because my company, Imani Collective, with Mara Elephant Project, did really cool collaboration and are continuing to collaborate together, which is really fun. But would love our listeners to know a little bit more about Mara Elephant Project and what you guys are doing, and how they can get connected. And again, we'll have all those links as well in the show notes.
Absolutely. So it's collaboration, by the way, that led me to Mara Elephant Project.
That's awesome.
I've been working here for a year now, and it's through my podcast and storytelling that I got the opportunity to come and share the amazing story of this project that I now work in my
Cool.
podcast. And, I've been a long
So
time
your
admiring.
podcast led you to this position.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's so good.
Yeah, yeah. And it's an amazing project. I work alongside equally young and passionate people, individuals, researchers, rangers, people in operations, admin, and all that. So my Elephant Project, just to give you a brief background, was established in the year 2011. Around this time, we were at the height of the poaching crisis in Kenya, and the Mara was affected. We were losing a lot of elephants. And in 2012 alone, we lost over 96 elephants to poaching. And the project started with initial funding from the Sidekick Foundation. The project started primarily to fight this poaching as anti-poaching. We starting only with 8 rangers and working collaboratively with other partners in the landscape. We noticed a shift. The poaching numbers started going down because of working with community rangers, informants, map intel on the ground. And as the poaching went down, we started seeing a shift. And this is the wall space, So Mara Elephant Project started with only 8 rangers, but right now, good news is we have employed over 80, rangers, men and women
That's
who are working on the
awesome.
ground, whether it's in anti-poaching, habitat monitoring, protection, and working alongside communities as well. And we have a cutting-edge research and conservation department headed by our very own Dr. Jake Wall, and I'll be sharing more about what these researchers do. And we are headquartered in the Mara, in Leme Conservancy. Yeah. As I was sharing, we really fought the poaching, and we started seeing the percentage of illegally killed elephants going down from 80 up to 2023. We are talking below 20%. And currently, what we are facing in the Mara is the war of space. The human footprint is expanding, and a lot of people are coming into contact with wildlife. And, elephants, elephant is in our name, Mara elephant, and elephants are a landscape species. They require huge ranges to feed, to breed, to move, to migrate, accessing all these habitats in the landscape. But due to the growing population, the expansion of the human footprint, we've noticed a lot of encroachment into wild areas, and a lot of people are practicing agriculture, crop-based agriculture. We are noticing a lot of fencing, a lot of land use change, a lot of habitat destruction as well. As you may know, forests are critical habitats for elephants, and without these forests, which provide a lot of ecosystem services to us as humans also. So we've noticed a lot of illegal logging, illegal charcoal, and these are the problems that you are currently facing in the Mara. But Mara Elephant Project, through our approach, which is the MEP method, which is monitor, evaluate, and protect, we have devised conservation technologies to monitor the ecosystem, to monitor these impacts. We are using Earth Ranger, which was co-developed by our Director of Research and Conservation, to monitor all our collared elephants. Mara Elephant has also assisted Kenya Wildlife Service and Wildlife Research and Training Institute in collaring elephants. And since 2011, we've collared over 80 individuals, And these elephants, these collared elephants, give us an opportunity or a window into understanding their behavior, their migratory routes, and also acting fast before conflict happens. Because in Earth Ranger, we have created a geofence, a virtual perimeter fence, which are located in unsafe territory and in areas near human settlements. So whenever an elephant crosses a geofence, we get a proximity alert. We are able to send in our ranger teams very quickly, and they're able to avert that conflict, So we are able to collect events using, record events using this platform, and whether it's illegal logging, human-wildlife conflict, arrests, forest fires. So we are able to collect this and create monthly reports as well, which we share internally, externally with our partners. And another key thing that we do, Jenny, is we assist Kenya Wildlife Service and the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust in treating elephants in the Mara. As potential, conflict happens, sometimes elephants are injured. At worst, we also lose people along the way. So we are working very closely with our partners, Kenya Wildlife Service and the Sheldrick, to treat elephants, which have, an arrow wound, a spear wound, because of retaliatory attacks from the community. Elephants love maize, they love corn, and they can go into that. They can go in that farm and destroy all the corn in very few minutes, and they're very smart. They normally do staging behavior, whereby during the day they hide in the thicket, in the forest, and during At night, they go into that farm and destroy all the crops. So you can imagine you're a farmer, you have 50 acres of maize. That is where your livelihood is. You're depending on that harvest to take your kids to school, to build your house, for example, or to use this money constructively. And all of a sudden you
And then
lose
here comes an elephant.
your entire crop. So, we are noticing a lot of retaliatory attacks, but
Yeah.
through the MAP method, whether it's whether it's using Earth Ranger, our men and women who are working as rangers, boots on the ground, assisting us on that front. So another key thing, conservation technologies that we've developed is the elephant book. So we have an amazing research team here at MEP, and these brilliant young men and women are leading. They are creating a database of known individuals in the Mara. And according to the last census, we were approximately at 2,600 elephants in this landscape, yeah? And
Wow.
what these researchers do, they go out in the field and they use the system of elephant ear knowledge to identify and cite some of these individuals and ID them. So we are trying to create like a Facebook for elephants, and so far out of the 2,600, we've done over 1,500 elephants in the ecosystem. And this is to study them, to ensure that there is no resurgence in poaching, to ensure that whether there is a case for an injured elephant, we are able to monitor and report that very quickly. And so these are some of the long-term solutions that we are bringing in as Mara Elephant Project. Of course, it wouldn't go without saying, really, due to what I shared before, human footprint expansion, a lot of conflict, humans are getting into conflict with elephants. Some of the mitigation strategies that we have adopted, we also use the helicopter to mitigate some of these conflicts, and using the helicopter to push herds away, whether it's in a settlement area, whether it's in the farm. And it's the only helicopter dedicated to wildlife in the Mara, piloted by our very own CEO, Mark Goss, yeah? And it's a very vital tool in our operations for sure, Jenny. Another key technology, cutting-edge technology that we've adopted in operations is the drone. Yeah, I don't know whether you've seen.
Yes, well, there's so many new like drone laws, because I feel like, we personally had a drone and then we're like, wait, I don't think we can have a drone anymore, because there's like so many laws around it in Kenya for a good reason. But that's awesome. So that's been really helpful.
Yeah, so at MEP here at our HQ, we are a certified UTO training site. So we do training here. And we've been experimenting the use of drones since 2011. And the drones have really come of age, Jenny. Right now, we have, the Mavic 3T, which have the capability of a thermal camera. We are using the Mavic Air 2S, the Matrice as well. And so far, we have trained 22 rangers, both male and female, to operate these drones, and to mitigate conflict. And we are not only using drones in human-elephant conflict mitigation, but also doing sensors, checking for injuries and wounds. We are looking into going into carbon monitoring as well in Loita Forest. And these are some of the uses that we are putting into use, the drone technology. And our goal is to train over 60% of the MEP's workforce to operate these drones. So we have noticed that, the drone sounds like a swarm of bees, and elephants really do not like that. Yeah, they do not like, they hate that sound. So that is why it is a very vital tool, very low cost and effective. And imagine being a ranger from the community with no formal education, the best education, and dedicated to wildlife, protecting your wildlife, your wild spaces, because all of MEP's rangers are from the community. And imagine being a ranger and having a drone pilot's license in your pocket, and you're able to use this cool technology to make a difference for wildlife. So one of the other key aims we are driving at is empowering our rangers, not only boots on the ground, normal operations, anti-poaching, but also looping them in these cool technologies that are coming in, and looking at the future ranger. What do they look like? So drones are really they are really a game changer in our operations, Jenny.
I am so impressed, Dibblex. Like everything that you mentioned just personifies and encompasses collaboration. I think for in any industry that we're in, there just can be, I want to do it better or have that competition mindset. And I just love that you mentioned Kenya Wildlife, you mentioned Sheldrick, you mentioned, universities, you mentioned all these different things of people coming together for a cause to make it better. Because at Imani Collective, we say we're not just better together, we are our best. And I truly believe that, like, if we are truly grounded in our values of we want to see something change and we want to do it this way, there's no point in reinventing the wheel. Like, you guys assist Sheldrick because you have these certain, tools in your pocket that you can share. And I'm sure vice versa. So I love the collaboration aspect of just what you've shared in conservation, specifically around elephants. And I love that you also have the mapping, because if I was a farmer, I potentially would retaliate if someone's eating all of my maize. So I think, as much as I love my elephants, but yeah, so I think that's just so it's so beautiful to see. Yes, we're protecting, obviously, elephants. We're also being mindful of the people as well, because they're being affected, and then just taking all of that in. But I think you guys do an amazing job. And I remember when you guys reached out to us, it was so exciting, because one of the things that Imani has always wanted to continue to do is figure out ways to give back, figure out ways to partner with, not just within the artisan space. Of course, we're focused on economic development, but is also like, how can we raise, like, again, have joined voices to allow people to know about this, about tourism, how they can get involved, how can, how that can they know about these other things happening within a country that we care about so much. And so for
Absolutely.
all of our listeners, if you don't know, Mara Elephant Project and Imani Collective did a collaborative collection together. And you can find that on Imani Collective. We'll put it in the show notes. And for anything bought in that collection, we do a 20% give back to Mara Elephant and donate back. It is a joy of mine to be able to, I think in the beginning, when you're in the beginning of following your own mission, right? And you're like, nope, I only do this and I support this. And I feel like obviously you have to be a little narrow-minded when you're startup, because you only have so many resources. But it's always been a heart of generosity for us to be like, how can, again, we collaborate and be generous and steward our resources well, definitely in what God has told us and to do and pursue. And so it's been beautiful. I can't wait to continue to do more stuff with you guys. I feel like it's just the beginning.
Absolutely.
But
Another
yeah,
key thing that I forgot, because this is a collaborative themed podcast, yeah?
yes,
And I'm happy, very happy that we are talking about collaboration, because at the heart of our operations, we are pushing for more collaboration and more partnerships with organizations here, whether it's training conservancies in the Mara to adopt Earth Ranger, whether it's
right.
monitoring. Right now, we are working with the Narok County government, Wildlife Research and Training Institute, and Masai Mara Wildlife Conservancies Association to develop the Greater Masai Mara Monitoring Framework, which
Oh,
is
that's
looking at
awesome.
social indicators, environmental indicators, economic indicators in the landscape. And what we are saying as MEP, we want to make our data available to all the partners, and have a centralized a data sharing point where we can, create a dashboard and look at where we need to put more resources in. So collaboration is key. And Jenny, it's good to say that there is no one size fits all approach to fighting human-elephant conflict, and to making conservation work. And that is why we need to talk more, to devise more ways to bring
Exactly.
more partners on board. Because who knows, 10 years from now, maybe the elephants will be used to the sound of the drones. Where will we go next, So we have to
So
keep
true.
adopting, keep bringing in solutions, keep working with other stakeholders in the landscape, involving youth, and the young people, since we are very big on conservation education as well, because they are the next generation of researchers, of conservationists, of environmentalists, and they are the next generation of landowners in the Mara.
Yeah.
What will they decide to do with all this beautiful land here? You know, so we have to loop them in, make them aware of the threats, make them aware of how they can get involved. In the long term, what we are trying to do here at MEP is we have a coexistence farm project. It's a five-year long-term project started in 2022. And we are trying different crops that are non-palatable, you know, that cannot be predated by elephants, hippos, and all the other wildlife. So trying to create a win-win for both wildlife and communities. Because as I said, we primarily started as anti-poaching, but now we moved more into developing communities and protecting the habitats and stitching back these fragmented habitats and putting, you know, whether it's taking down the fences, whether it's telling more people to put their land into conservation rather than going into agriculture. And, you know, this coexistence farm project, we are trying over 40 different crops. We are talking about chili, we are talking about lavender, we are talking about rosemary, and all the essential oil crops that have a smell that elephants really do not like. So we have a coexistence farm manager. She's local, Maasai, an agronomics engineer by profession, who is running this project.
Awesome.
She's called Abigail. And what Abigail is doing there, she's assessing the economic index. How marketable are these crops? If we tell the farmers, hey, you've planted maize for quite some time, this is presenting a lot of challenges for us in the ecosystem in terms of, you know, crop raiding pressure from elephants, retaliatory killings by the community. Why not plant chili? Why not plant lavender? Why not go for rosemary? And then the community will come back to us and say, is there a market for this? Can we get some money out of this? So this is what we are trying to assess: the growth index, the economic index, the social index. How popular are some of these crops to the community? More of a win-win, really. And what Abigail does also is she's teaching women to create kitchen gardens as well, to increase their food security and to enable them to put food at the table for their family's journey, to increase their food security, really, because as a farmer, you can imagine losing your entire crop in a night. What will you do? And you have a huge family to feed. So it's a long-term project, which we are very hopeful. And the goal is to create economically resilient communities, conserve wildlife, and promote coexistence. And just to add there on collaboration, we are working with partners, tourism partners, you know, tourist camps across the Mara. We are working with both government. Our biggest partners are government, Kenya Wildlife Service, Kenya Forest Service, because we have ranger teams. We have a total of 9 ranger teams, by the way. And most of these ranger teams are stationed in some of these critical forest systems, for example, Mau Forest, Nyakweri Forest, and Loita Forest. And we are working very closely with our government partners, Kenya Forest Service, Kenya Wildlife Service, to increase protection of these habitats. We are working closely with the Wildlife Research and Training Institute, the Narok County government, in creating some of these policies and frameworks. We are talking about Masai Mara Wildlife Conservancies Association, the umbrella body for all the conservancies in the Mara, because conservancies have really changed. They're really a game changer, an additive to our conservation efforts in this beautiful landscape that we call home. So collaboration is at the heart of our operations, and we are happy to call Imani Collective also our partners. And this is an incredible partnership for sure, because the work that you do, Jenny, for communities down at the coast, you know, that trickle down effect of, you know, making that money revolve around the local economy, the products that you're using, sustainably getting them from the women, you know, the employment opportunities that you're creating will go a long way, really, in developing communities, not only to be job seekers, but to be job creators.
Exactly. Thanks, Dibblex. Wow. that was a nice little shout out. I feel like whoever's listening, you need to like go to the very beginning, get a pen and paper and start just writing everything down, because this was a episode full of information, full of just good nuggets of wisdom of how to collaborate well. And so, Dibblex, I'm so honored that we had the time to talk today. Please, guys, go check out the show notes. We'll have all the information of where you find out about Mara Elephant Project, where you find out about the collection, how you can go learn more about what's happening in the Mara and how to be a part of that conversation. The value alignment here is education and communication. I'm all about, we need to continue to be an educative brand. How are we part of conversations that are educating in this way? And so I'm just so glad that you guys are taking the initiative for the youth, for the next generation, for farmers, for communities, because that is how we get better together, is be open in communication, to hear each other's pain points, and then to find a solution that is a win-win. So I want to go meet Abigail. She sounds amazing. I want to learn all the things. So I will be coming and visiting soon. But as we end our time together, as always, we end and we want this to be a community of inspiration. So Dibblex, I would love to ask you to share with our community what you feel is one last thing to live by.
I think that's a very good one there, Jenny. I think one good thing to live by is to you don't have to have it all figured out together. And one principle that I live by is start where you are with what you have and just do it. If you want to be a photographer, you don't have to have the best camera, you know. If you want to be a podcaster like Jenny and myself, you don't have to have the best mic. If you want to be, you know, whatever it is that you want to be, you don't have to have all the resources right now. What you can do is challenge yourself to go for it. Start where you are with what you have. And if you have the passion, it will propel you to achieve the meaningful success and a positive impact, not only for yourself, but, you know, to the people out there. Blessed to be a blessing. That's it.
I love it. That is such good advice. Like, just start. If you have a passion, just go. When I listen back to my first podcast or like my first episodes, I'm like, ooh, that was rough, but we did it. We just started. We just went and we just started to conversate. And so for you guys listening in this community, I'm always grateful for each one of you and making Moxie grow and just being a part of this dynamic conversation. Continue to inspire others around you. And as always, Moxie on.